Hello again. This is Today on eNCA, DSTV channel 403. I'm Dan Moyane. Thank you very much for joining us on this Monday afternoon. Now, the National Coronavirus Command Council is set to convene tomorrow. This comes as most provinces are confirming they are now in the fourth wave of the pandemic. Health experts have already confirmed that the new variant, that's Omicron, is the driving force behind the high infection numbers. There are fears that lockdown regulations will be adjusted soon. But what changes can the economy handle after immense pressures of previous restrictions? Well, to help us unpack this, I'm joined by Owen Nkomo. He's a director of Inkunzi Wealth Group, and of course, he's an economist. Owen, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. But the last hour or so, I was interviewing Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman from the Gift of the Givers, telling us what they are not seeing currently on the ground in terms of this fourth wave. They're not seeing similar high numbers of people requiring oxygen, for example, requiring hospitalizations. Therefore, the pressures on the hospitals is much less than the previous waves. They are seeing a lot of infections, but not severe illness. And I asked him a direct question. Does he believe, as a doctor, because he's a medical doctor, that South Africa requires a higher level of lockdown restrictions? And his answer was an emphatic no. What's your view?
Thank you for having me, Braden, and I love the work that Dr. Suleiman does out there with the Gift of the Givers. And in this case, certainly I also agree with him. I don't think we need a very hard lockdown. The economy has struggled so much, and I think the country has had enough time to experiment with various combinations of the different levels and the different permissibles during each level. And I don't believe that we need to be that aggressive, in this round of, if there is going to be any introduction of higher lockdown.
Yeah, I like the word if because, I like you using the word if because we are actually speculating here. We don't know what will come out of that Coronavirus Command Council. We do know, of course, that the commander of it, that's Matamela Ramaphosa, is currently in isolation after having tested positive yesterday. But Dr. Suleiman, I'm sorry to bring him up again, but he reminded me of something which I had forgotten, that this country went into its first ever lockdown in March last year, on the 27th of March, when there was no COVID-19 kind of spreading yet in the country. But even those lockdowns, they never stopped the spread. So what would the use be of a lockdown, a higher level of restrictions than level 1? Other than impacting the economy a little bit further? We are seeing already tourism suffering due to the travel bans, for example.
Most certainly. I think that's why I say that I don't think we need to consider any harder lockdown than we currently have. People have learned that they need to put on masks, and if they don't, the government then gets tempted to assume that any increase in infections is because people are not wearing masks. So I hope everyone is going to play their role and they're going to put masks on when they go out during this festive season. But most certainly, that big blow from the tourist sector is going to be quite hard to stomach for most of the tourism operators in the country. For example, I read somewhere that there's about 300,000 tourists that are expected from Britain. At least there's been a bit of relaxation on that front, but I think some countries will still play the cautious card in terms of their people coming to South Africa. So it's because of this Omicron story.
If Owen, there had to be some adjustment of sorts to the restrictions, because now we are told, as you've correctly said, please wear your mask, social distance, avoid crowded areas, indoor gatherings and stuff like that, and please go and vaccinate. That's been the new message that's being spread far and wide. But if there had to be any other adjustments to the current level 1 restrictions that we are having in the country, what could the economy afford? Or it doesn't afford any other level at all at this stage?
I most certainly think that the level where we are right now, adjusted level 1, which the president gave us last time, is most appropriate, And I think we cannot keep tampering with the economic, recovery as and when there's a new, mutation on this disease, on this virus. Because otherwise we're going to have many confusing, taking us to level 2, level 1, level 3, etc. Let's stay where we are. Let's just go and vaccinate. And I know there's still a lot of conspiracy theories going on out there about the vaccine. And I know many people are very proud of the fact that they're not going to vaccinate. just because they spotted out today as one of their big arguments that, hey, the president was one of the first to vaccinate. Now he's got COVID. So why am I wasting time going to vaccinate? So I want to also throw in my words of encouragement to people out there to say it at least reduces the chances of you actually, being infected again. And if you look at what's going on internationally, those economies are recovering faster than our economy because the people there have taken vaccines. Look at the stadiums in Europe. The stadiums are full, jam-packed, and we're still far from getting to a position where the government can let us go back to the stadiums fully because of the very low level of our vaccine intake.
Yeah, those people that are telling you that they're not going to vaccinate because look at the president, he's vaccinated, but he's got the thing. I think are forgetting one important scientific fact that's been proven. People who have been infected by Omicron, having been vaccinated, don't end up being severely ill. I mean, I saw somebody putting out on social media, highly respected professional, just this weekend, Owen, saying that they know somebody who refused to be vaccinated, but is now lying in an ICU in a ventilator with COVID-19. So it can get really bad. People must understand scientifically what this could mean. But I mean, Owen, the unemployment rate is very high, especially affecting young people. I mean, currently many families are waiting for the results of the matric of the matrics of 2021. So people are having kind of hopes about the future, want to plan about the future. I think the best thing really, perhaps, to encourage all of us, including government, from an economic point of view, is to drive up the level of vaccinations.
Most certainly. And I think if you look at corporate South Africa, some companies are actually starting to force their employees to go and vaccinate or make sure that they produce some sort of security level of protection on a daily basis or on a weekly basis to show that hey, here's my COVID status if they don't want to go and vaccinate. And I think that people are just going to end up defaulting to actually doing the vaccination. And the big cry out there as well is that from the anti-vaxxers is that people can die after this vaccination. But the statistics globally show that there's a very minuscule number of people who actually pass on because of COVID. And the statistic and the mention of the doctor you mentioned from over the weekend is certainly right. Your chances of surviving, much higher if you've been vaccinated from Omicron. I know a couple of friends who've been attacked by COVID, and this time for the second time. But they tell me that they're faring much better than they did when COVID actually first hit. So we do wish everyone out there who's attacked by COVID right now a speedy recovery ahead of Christmas. But to those who have been vaccinated, I think for the sake of business in South Africa, to avoid a big spiral. In the event that Omicron or any other mutation becomes more aggressive and the economy going backwards, we do think that everyone should go and actually vaccinate.
Owen Nkomo, thank you very much, as usual, for your insights and your time here this afternoon. He's, of course, the director of Inkunzi Wealth Group. Go and get that jab. Okay.